This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes.
Welcome on this fine eve of morning to the stories, the true and maybe the fictional at times. I am, of course, one of your hosts, Chris Park. I'm joined by my erstwhile colleague and member of the House of Lords and fellow invader of erstwhile nations that have managed to find a different and interesting teas. Of course, that is why we start our wars. I'm, of course, talking about Lord Neil of Paramount. How are you going, Sir Lord Neil?
Hello there. I'm not bad. How are we all doing?
I heard your last conquest into the Orient to obtain black tea was quite fruitful.
Oh, yes. Just the terrible locals. Something had to be done. Something was done. And I'm sure we'll never hear about it again for the rest of history.
I'm sure no one will remember us trading opium for tea, ever. And nothing brought up in the history of mankind. I don't believe it'll ever happen again. I don't believe we'll then claim any island that we'll have to then return, and then at first the people were happy on those islands that we returned them back to their mainland, then realized, oh wait, it's not as good as we thought. Not mentioning any particular names or islands or free Hong Kong movements, but you know what that is. Wait. Oh wait, I just did. Damn it. Anyway.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
It's actually really funny about that. No, not the movement. That's a serious movement. But actually, like, I've worked with both like people from Hong Kong and also people from China, and like people from China are going, oh yeah. Well, technically it is ours, so I mean they should all just shut up. And it's like, bleh. And then you talk to the Hong Kong people, and they have a very different opinion, like just completely different. It's like going, you guys should work together more often. I just want to see what happens over a long period of time. They move them to different teams because that's what happens.
So come down to the police station for a just a cup of tea and a chat. Where are they? It's been 4 days. Changing their mind.
There you
If
go.
you hear the snigger and laughter in the background, I'm of course joined by fellow revolutionary and loyal to the crown, member of the colony, J.A. Bryan. How you going, colonist?
Collins, yeah, I'm going very well. Yes.
Aren't you proud to be part of the largest naval empire in the world?
I think I'm supposed to be because my grandfather was a navyman.
Mm.
But so don't really think about it.
Why? Is it because you're part French?
You heard it here, folks. I was trying to keep that secret. Damn it.
I first knew.
I'm quarter French.
I first knew that Jamie was French when we were going to the movies and said, "Hey, let's go to the Bavarian Cafe." You should have seen like his face went pale and he started to panic. His legs started to shake, and then he ran away. And I was going, "Oh my god, I didn't know he was French." And then he goes, "Yes, Briadan is a French name." I'm going, "That makes so much sense." Why you dance when you hear the can, and there's also while you run away when you hear German accents. I was like going, I finally understand Jamie more because of that.
I would have been more satisfied. I mean, I was waiting that whole time for "I always surrender" joke or something, But
again, I'm subtlety, Jamie. It's all about the subtlety with the surrender jokes.
Okay, all right.
But of course, you surrendered. Like
if I'm only quarter French, that means I only
half
surrender.
the quarter surrender.
25% of the time I surrender.
Yeah, no, you'll surrender and then join the resistance group, and then being like going. Oh,
Well,
we
it's funny
must
that my
resist."
favorite song is "I Surrender." What's that song? I surrender. It's not. It's really not.
See, you are a surrendering Frenchman. It's just.
Sorry, you heard it here, folks.
I'm disappointed.
We're getting onto the profiling early, I see.
Yes, yeah. For those who don't know, we are joined by Neil Cassells, husband of our sponsor, Rebecca Cassells. And he kind of, whenever we recorded, he was in the background and Chris kept talking and he kept talking. It's kind of like that moment when Chris met an old friend of ours, Michael, how they slowly just became best friends because they agreed on everything. And it was actually, I think you bonded over, was it Warhammer, Chris?
That was one of the many things. Yes. It was one of the things, and then it was also his love for weaponry in world wars. It also was a bonding moment. That's what I think. And then
you both married both Filipinos.
It grew from that. Well, he copied me more so than that was more so.
Oh, I see. You did before it was cool and popular.
Yeah. Well, actually, a white person marrying a Filipino that's common. I was just gonna say, a Korean marrying a Filipino. I'm going to annoy every single Filipino person in the universe when I say this, but here we go.
Soundbite.
A Korean marrying a Filipino, that's me performing charity. It's like in Downton Abbey when the family marries a servant. What? Oh shit! I went there.
Don't feel so awkward about saying things now, do you, Neil?
No, not at all.
This is the level.
No.
You see,
no.
You see, Jamie, when actors in Korea don't make it in Korea, you know where they go? The Philippines.
Oh, okay. Let's move on to the Philippines.
Swiftly, please.
We're actually here to talk about, you two fellas' agreement on Star Wars and the horridness of the latest trilogy. Right?
I believe we're here to talk about the State of the Union, which is the state of. But before we go on, I think we should go to the usual jives first and ask Jamie, what show hasn't he been watching, and what has he wasted his time on this week?
Oh, okay, so time wasting. But I've started watching The Rookie. Nathan Fillion's
cop show.
Yes. And, it's Nathan Fillion. It's not bad. It was really slow starting. But, it's the Nathan Fillion charm that really draws you in.
How many seasons is that?
I think they're up to 5, and they've done a spin-off. So it's pretty successful.
Enough?
Yeah.
Is it your standard procedural cop show?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard because it follows different kind of characters at different moments, and so it's not entirely procedural all the time, but there's definitely that element to it.
And then some Nathan Fillion there to smooth the way along.
Yeah, well,
that would work.
I don't think it would work without him. It would just be a boring cop show without him. It's not entirely.
That's like most things he's generally done. Where without him, would the show work? You have to wonder.
Yeah, I love Castle. I prefer Castle to this. That lasted 8 seasons.
8 seasons, wasn't it?
Yeah. Even though that he didn't get along with his co-star.
Painfully so, which was really hilarious, which is why they ended up writing her out, because apparently they just couldn't work together anymore.
They wrote her out for a bit, but it wasn't kind of like she's missing for a whole season. It was more like an episode here, an episode there.
Yeah, but that's to give her a break.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
just to give her a break.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm still playing Red Dead. Red Dead
How
Redemption
many
2.
times can you play that game?
Well, this is my 3rd playthrough. No, it's my 4th playthrough. And I'm just living in it. I just love riding around, and it's like a world you can get engrossed in. You could literally live any way you want in that game.
Have you done like lived honorably and not killed a bazillion people?
I'm really trying to do the honorable playthrough this time, but I keep I was at the problem is when you go to a bar and have a drink, the beer button is the same button as randomly shoot. So I'm standing at the bar. I've drunk my drink. I in my head, I still haven't done my drink yet, and so I just shoot the bartender. It's like,
Yeah, you see that sounds like a problematic design, or maybe an intent. Like, you know what? Maybe that design was intentional.
Probably, yeah.
That just sounds like they want you to shoot the bartender.
I think no. I think that they want you to have accidents all the time and you go, oh no, oh my gosh. You know, but no, look, I love it, and I'll probably play it until Spider-Man 2 New Game Plus comes out soon, so I want to play that again with my ultimate powers all the way through again. And then Dragon's Dogma is coming out soon too, isn't it?
March 22nd.
Ooh, I'll be on holidays. I'll be away.
March-ish.
Yeah.
It's March-ish. I think it's the end of March for Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah. No, but look, that's all I've been really doing. Nothing totally interesting.
Nothing totally interesting. What about you, Neil? What have you been getting yourself up to these days?
Spawning offspring. I don't know if people remember from Rebecca's last time on. She's was she still pregnant at the time?
No, I think she just had.
Just had, yes, because I was upstairs looking after him. Yes, that's child number 4 now. So that combined with working and being the driver of the family does not leave a great amount of time for very much. Very little in the way of playing any games. I'm trying to finish Far Cry 5, 20 minutes at a time. And open world games such as that, you think I'm going to hit some milestones here, and then you see a bear attacking a person, you pull out a rifle, 20 minutes go, next thing you know, you're flying helicopters into buildings.
It's not a game really that you could really just plan to finish. It's
no.
Like,
besides that, anytime I get to come through here, and just to the side of me here, I have a painting desk where I'm painting models. So I'll come through and do a little bit of that for 20 minutes or so, just to try and calm down and get a bit of man time. Besides that, it's pretty much parenting and work.
That sounds vastly different from my experience, where, I mean, when I had a child, I think I played more Final Fantasy 14 online than I've ever done. Like, I actually went from level 1 to level 80 and finished the entire game because I was up. They said, Mark's like, look after the child, so then I put it near me and it stared at me, and I just played Final Fantasy. It was great, and I played more, and yeah, that was a great several months of solid Final Fantasying, simply because I was then up at night. It was fantastic. It's a vastly different experience.
And that's how his son will always remember him, sitting in the rocking chair with the controller.
Yeah. The kid eventually ended up like liking the song of Final Fantasy, because it was like, that was the thing that was playing in the background. So I was like,
only thing that puts him to sleep.
But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What are you entertaining yourself with
these days, young man? These days, well, I have been doing the thing, the most boring thing that you possibly do, because I am a slave to like basic things. I'm a simple person, and I've been continuing on with my epic career in It was an EA24 now, FIFA. Oh,
No, it's not FIFA. It's
I know,
FC.
it's
FC 24.
but you know what? Don't care. Calling it FIFA.
Well, it's the same thing.
Calling it FIFA and trying to live up to the team's ridiculous and constant insane management expectations, where they keep coming up with new stupid ones every single time. I think I'm in year like 5 now. And they're just getting even more ridiculous, where they're saying, "Okay, sell."
We need one player from every nationality, all in the club.
It's not that. It's somewhat accurate, because I am playing Barcelona, where they say, "Hey, bring up a youth player into the senior squad." I'm going, "Yes, okay, that does sound like something Barca would do." And then now they're saying, "Hey, have him start 10 games." Am I going, "Okay, that's going to be a little bit more difficult." And then it's like, but also win the Champions League, win the La Liga, win the Copa Spanish. I was like, going, more difficult. Oh, and also make me 500 million in sales. I'm like, of players. I'm like, okay, so sell all my top flight talent and then win all the cups with rookies. That does sound like a Barcelona thing to do, which is self-sabotage their system and then wonder why they're not winning as much. So I was like, going, you know what? Like, I initially thought maybe EA was dumb, but going, you know what? No. This does sound like how Barcelona is managed. I think this is fairly, I'm going to say, fairly accurate. Sell all your players and then wonder why you can't win. Bring all these 20-year-olds in and go, well, why aren't they as good as Messi when he was 20? Must be something wrong with the players. And then look at their top strikers going, he only scored 26 goals. Messi got 50 most seasons. Obviously something's wrong with that striker. Not that we had the greatest player of all time. Clearly something's wrong with the players we're bringing up. So maybe it's very accurate. Maybe it's very accurate Barcelona. So,
I'm glad you worked through that, Chris.
I'm working through it. Obviously.
It's good to have a thought process and work through it. And
I've been meaning also to watch like Percy Jackson TV series and the thing. But the thing is, every single time I turn on Disney Plus, I'm like going, I don't want to watch Disney. I'm like, because I turn it on, and a minute goes, watch the Marvels. So I turn it off. I'm like, go fuck yourself, Disney. So I was like, so they are actively hindering my watching of the show, because I turn it on, and the first thing is a giant banner of the Marvels, and I'm like going, no. Then I turn it off.
Watch the Marvels, please.
Please. And then they go, suggested for you, the Marvels. I'm like going, do you even know me, Disney? Like, do you know who I it's like, if you're, it's a bad relationship. I'm going, do you even know who I am, Disney? Like, do you even know anything about me? Like, and look, I ended up buying the yearly subscription again. Which is
for
Disney Plus.
No, but for like what?
Way more than it should. And the only reason I did it was because Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is on there, and that's what my son watches on a loop of the 5 seasons, just constantly constant loop. And so I was going, you know what? Fair enough. So I didn't resubscribe. I forgot that I had the yearly subscription until I was like, why am I down $150? Fucking Disney. Like, I remember when I first signed up for the yearly subscription, it was like $89.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems reasonable. Okay. And now it's like $150, $160 for the year.
Now they want you to pay like twice as much and make you watch the Marvels.
Exactly.
Disney needs that money now. Look at all those lawsuits. Look, they've got to buy Comcast. They've got to buy Comcast share of Hulu. They're reaching down behind the sofa cushions. They are not finding that cash. They come to you.
But don't you know, Neil, that you can always rely upon your good friends at BlackRock and Vanguard to bail you out. And
but then BlackRock downgraded them.
Oh, so even their friends are even their friends are going like, you know what that is? That is like sucking up to the cool kid for so long until the cool kid goes, yeah, I only need you for your homework, and now I'm back. I'm like, I don't need you at the circle of my cool friends anymore. You know. But having said that, look, I don't want to be too hypocritical because I do work for a company owned by Vanguard. So it's like,
Well,
although having said that, they pay me way more than they should. To the point where, you know, my wife can live trad wife lifestyle. So I'm assuming. So you know, honestly, like, I guess it's not so bad. I'm good, but I mean, obviously, I know that I am stealing someone's money, probably. But I think that brings us on to the first topic of the show, which is, once again, welcome to White People and Their Finances podcast, and where we discuss all things financial and go over the pros and cons of, you know what? I think today we're going to talk about options, and we're going to talk about, you know, short selling a company and how do we destroy a Fortune 500 company.
You don't want to talk about my work?
Well, no, Jamie works for a deviant company about cranes building cranes.
No, look, yeah.
You
No, but like,
fuck.
they literally, when I started working with them, they made me sign like an NDA.
A non-disclosure?
Well, it wasn't like an NDA. It's like a social media policy or something. So you're not allowed to really talk ill of the company on social media.
Wow, that's a company with a lot of faith in their company.
So what I will talk about is the owner of a football club. Who Sydney Olympic FC or something? Yeah, who happens to own another may or may not company that I am in the employ of. Because the headline of the article is mainly about the guy that owns the football club and his money, financial.
So just on that topic, I do want to talk about how ridiculous, like, that the world is becoming naming their football teams.
Cool. Yeah.
Because so if you've watched any MLS, which I have now I've watched every now and then, or Australian, whatever they call it. They call their clubs like, you know,
Western Sydney Wanderers.
Well, no, that's fine. But I mean, they call like Sydney Olympic FC. It's like, what does FC stand for? Football club. What do you play? Soccer. All right, cool. All right, let's okay. That's fine. But even worse, the biggest travesty in I believe is MLS teams where they call themselves, we're Inter Miami. It's like going, so you're an Italian club, are you now? It's like, no, that sounds cool. It's like, oh my God. We're Real Salt Lake. It's like, no, that meant something. So it irks me because they're just taking random words they hear. They go, oh, Real Madrid, that's a cool sounding name. That we'll call our club Real Salt Lake. It's like, no, the Real it's not, Real means something in Spanish, not just stop it. Stop. And also Inter means something in Italian. Stop doing this to your clubs. Just, you know, call yourselves the typical American, like, hot dog and Cheez-Its club that you so desperately want to get a sponsor for. So anyway.
I've got some great, sorry, I just looked it up. 16 hilarious football club names from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
The first one's called Insurance Management Bears.
No, see, that's, to me, at least, that's honest. To me, that's honest.
Portman Kunis United. That's a USA club.
And with the United, this is
11 men in flight.
Okay.
Ooh, did you know there's a North Korean soccer team? Chris?
I imagine there is. What's it called?
Called the 4.25 sports team.
What the hell?
And I'm sure as far as North Korea is concerned, they win absolutely everything. And they do it in the name of the great leader. Without the great leader, though, they would lose.
And they're the greatest, yeah. And they are the greatest talent of all time. Yeah.
Yes.
FL Fart from Norway.
I like it.
There's a Peru team called Deportivo Wanker. There's an Argentinian team called Deportivo Moron. In Bolivia, there's a club called Club Destroyers. Oh my gosh. There's a club called Miscellaneous.
Did someone forget to fill out the box on the form?
They didn't tick it. And then they went, we're called Club Misk. It's like, screw it. Yeah. We'll go with it.
FC Santa Claus, Finland. Japan, Prima Ham. Crab Connection. All right. Cape Coast Mysterious Dwarfs from Ghana, and finally the Botswana Meat Commission FC.
You see, that at least makes
That sounds like a
some-
video you'd find on the dark corners of the internet.
I kid you not. This is yeah. These are real club names.
At least that one does make some kind of sense, where it's like what the old amateur clubs were. It's like going, this is the club for the meat packing commission. So to me that at least makes a lick of sense in terms of what it was named after. Like that,
Yeah.
that makes some kind of sense, but not like any other club makes any sort of sense in any known universe.
Well, usually it's just who purchases the club or something, isn't it? Like who funds it or something gets to name it, don't they? Or
depends on which system you're talking about. Are we talking about the German stupid system of like ownership and thing, or the Spanish buying shares? Or are we talking about the English club where Saudi oil barons buy out full clubs and then lie about their finances? Which system of football are we talking about?
the questions.
Where they have their fair play finance laws. They're going, yes, we're totally going. It's all fair. let me just buy all these players. Where'd you get the money from? Sponsorships, maybe. What sponsorships? The company that I happen to own is sponsoring the club. Can you prove it? Not really, but take my word, I've signed a deal of $500 million. I'll pay myself, absolutely. That means I can buy all the players. Hey, Man City. Totally legal, and no one is questioning no one is influencing their fair play laws. Anyway, back onto the topic of points. Thank you, Jamie, for you stupid sidetracking chip.
If you're gonna, you know how I operate. If you put a thought in my head. So back on finance, or?
Well, yes. Well, I was going to set up a giant financial joke about how to destroy a company, but then I was going to be like, but it sounds like Disney just can, all you can do is just let them be themselves and then destroy their own company. But that doesn't, the setup is gone, so we'll move on. So whilst we have Neil here, Neil, let's go back and talk about Star Wars. What is your earliest memory of Star Wars, and what made you appreciate it and grow to become what one would call possibly even a fan of the genre?
A massive flipping nerd. I remember going back to when the original film Star Wars, or Episode 4 A New Hope, whichever way you want to go with that, when it was in the UK at Christmas time, it was always a Star Wars film or an Indiana Jones film.
Yes.
And I recall watching I was sat down by my parents, said, watch this. And it was the original Star Wars. And I mean, I was a little boy. I absolutely loved it. Thought it was fantastic. And then came, I don't think I was ever in a position to see much in the way of the toys in the shops. I think I was just they were leaving the toy stores at that point. But then there were the car boot sales, or where I would end up being bought a cardboard box full of Star Wars figures, and the ATST with the button you press at the back and the legs start moving. The speeder bike from Return of the Jedi, you press a button, the whole thing falls to pieces. I had a whole host of those where that was a lot of my childhood, playing with the figures. Then I got to watch the other two movies that were about at the time, and I absolutely loved it. I would always we videoed them from the television until we bought a VHS box set of all three.
Wow.
and it went from there. And since then, it's been I've played not all, but I've played a lot of the games, especially the games that LucasArts released.
Yes.
Less so much what's coming out now, but I'm sure we'll get onto that. I decided to go through the books and for the expanded universe, and that got a bit excessive. There's a few friends of ours. We trade in school. We traded the books between each other. So we got, one of us was collecting a series, and we just swapped them out, and so we could all read them. And then a good number of years ago now, I decided I'm going to listen to all of it in order. Starting about 12,000 years before the movies were set to about 35 to 40 years after. I did it all on audiobook, and it took a couple of years. So inevitably, when Disney bought them and then said, all that, lol, doesn't count, I was a little bit annoyed.
And I'll be honest, that hurt the most for me as well, because, again, also, as a fan of the expanded universe, there was some good, there was some bad, obviously, but there was some excellent, and just some, and to have it all just blinked away with a thought, yeah, that's painful. That was a definition of painful, because I still maintain what they're trying to do is make foreign stupid copies of Heir to the Empire, and they just can't seem to grasp, they can't seem to grasp. But even with Thrawn, they're trying to capture what made him, but they still just suck at it, and it's still a the Disneyite version of Thrawn pales in comparison to. Yes, I know that Timothy Thrawn came across to try to help them preserve his character, but he's still a pale comparison of what he was in the books. And but let's not go down that route too fast. What about you, Jamie? Apart from, I know that you started liking Star Wars when you were trying to date a model who liked Star Wars, and so all of a sudden you were watching a lot of Star Wars, and then I was going, oh, Jamie's finally gotten taste. And then I realized why, and I was going, okay, you know what? Fair enough.
So I was interested in a model when I was in primary school. Nice. No, because I look, it had me from Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie.
Of course. Best one.
100%. And you got to be honest, it's the little Ewoks that pull you in as a kid. That's what got me.
The teddy bears, yes.
Yep. And then no, they're not trying to eat them at all. And you got to ask the question, where did they get a exact costume that was the right size for Leia?
Well, there was some people there that probably weren't as lucky as Leia was.
Exactly. No, yeah, but look, I've always liked watching it. I've never been as passionate as Chris Park. But I did come along every single time when you were like, oh, look, Force Awakens is out. I bought 5 tickets, as in 5 different screenings.
Yes.
As in advance, that it's going to be awesome. And then you made that mistake with Last Jedi. And
yes.
And then you had to watch it 4 times in a row.
That was bad.
That was so bad.
Honestly,
yeah,
that was bad. I won't lie, but
yeah. No, look, I liked it as a kid. And then I think I was just more casual. I didn't dive into it like I dive into Turtles.
The casual fan. I mean,
casual.
Did you even play as Kyle Katarn in any of his amazing games, Jamie?
Which games? What?
Oh,
oh, the nerd in me now says it was Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcasts, Jedi Academy.
Academy was the pinnacle of Star Wars game.
The games I remember playing is obviously the Battlefront or what it was, but like 20 years ago, not the new ones, like the ones that did way back when. I remember
The good
playing
ones.
them. Yeah, them. There was one where I can't remember what it was called, but you had to you basically pulled down like a destroyer at one point. I can't remember what
that was Force Unleashed.
Yes, I played that one.
Yeah.
I never played, and this is probably sacrilege. The old RPG ones.
Knights of the Republic. I know because you don't like turn-based combat for some unknown reason.
Because I don't want to wait to punch someone or cut someone.
That's fine. But then you didn't play Jedi Outcasts, which is the
Yeah. Well, it probably didn't come across. It
was a PC game, so you had to have a PC.
That'd be why.
But the best part about Jedi Outcasts and Jedi Academy was I always installed the mod where it was like one-touch lightsaber death, and so even on the main character, I made sure that that was always because I wanted realism. So then every single lightsaber battle became an intense duel of and then it became like a truly intense duel because normally in that game you have health, and so five Dark Jedis appear, and you're like going meh, I have Force Heal, like the greatest ability in the game. Yeah. But then in this one, it's like, oh crap! And you have to really focus and really know what you're doing.
Oh, quick save! I'm going to get into a fight. I'm dead. Quick load. I'm dead. Quick load. I'm dead. Quick load.
Yeah.
Did it become a little like that? Yes, I will admit there was a little bit of quick loading and resetting in certain fights. But it was after I'd finished that game so many times, I had to do something to make it a little bit more you had to do something to make it somewhat like a challenge after you finish the game a trillion bazillion times.
Well, back in the old days where you could get a game and quite happily mod away.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't the developers frantically trying to stop you from squeezing another playthrough out of the game because they want to sell you the next one.
But I remember around that same time that I was playing Jedi Academy, the someone created the episode, the Clone Wars skins, where you could play as your main character. You could turn your main character into Kit Fisto. It was awesome, and then you could have tentacle head guy, right? And and you could just reskin all the characters into whatever era you wanted to, and play in any era you wanted to. It was awesome. But it was because obviously how bad the modding was. It was really funny watching Luke Skywalker being turned into Qui-Gon Jinn, and then there's other things that happened. It was really fun. That was really fun. But those were. Whilst the latest games have done their best and tried to create Dark Souls or some form of lightsaber combat, there will always be a pale comparison to Jedi Academy in terms of how they were. It's one of those things where you look at Jedi Academy and go, oh look, a sequel done correctly in terms of timeline wise. This was done 1,000 bazillion trillion years ago. The lightsaber combat was so much better, and even now, then you can't, can't do well. But Neil, what were your thoughts when Disney first bought Star Wars? Mine was somewhat optimistic because I'm an idiot, and because
You bought 5 tickets for 5
MCU was successful, so I was assuming okay, I was a fool to think Disney knew what they were doing, until Jamie's favorite producer took over. But that's a whole separate other thing on Jamie's love for Kathleen Kennedy. As you keep saying, Jamie, she's on all my favorite films. She's done all the films I love. I was like, well, that's why.
I didn't say it with that tone. I said it in a different way. I said, she's on all my favorite films. That's.
But more sick desperation in the tone.
Yeah. As in, she let me down. She's gone insane.
But again, you're only as good as your latest film, and prior to that, she did Crystal Skull. So.
Yeah. Well, that's her Tom Cruise jumping on the couch moment. So
Again, yeah. But were you optimistic, Neil, or were you like?
It's painful to look back in hindsight. When they announced they were buying it, Star Wars, that was 2012.
Yeah.
And nothing had really happened with the franchise since Revenge of the Sith, which was 2005. You got the odd game coming out. You got the books were still going.
Yep.
But as far as the mainstream films, nothing. And then, Disney's going to buy them. And I think, like you just said, the MCU was still going strong at that point.
It was.
And I thought, okay, so as long as they get someone good, they're just going to pour a butt ton of money into it.
Mm-hmm.
And, the writing's been, for the most part, pretty good with the MCU, so they can do that for Star Wars. I'm sure that George Lucas is going to keep a hand in there somewhere. And I thought, okay, I was optimistic, and then the rumors started coming out that they'd pitched Lucas's treatments for 7, 8, and 9 into the bin. Said, "Oh, thank you very much. Oh, this is. Oh, yeah. We'll read this. Yep. Bin." And then they said painful. It was, we're going to get J.J. Abrams in. Oh. Mr. Mystery Box.
Oh. The mystery box.
One of those, his style of writing. I'm going to make a magical mystery MacGuffin and never explain it.
Ah, yes. The mystery box.
And the biggest mystery box of all. Why do people keep giving him jobs?
And money.
Yeah. So I initially was quite optimistic. They made the announcement that the expanded universe was
that hurt.
Now no longer canon, and that having dedicated several years sitting at work listening to the audiobooks, that really did suck, especially since everything that was produced, whether it was a comic book or a novel or a game, had to be approved by Lucasfilm, and it was, as long as it was approved by them, it was canon. It was part of the mythology.
Yes.
And so everything there, all the characters that have crossed over from different novel series into games, graphic novels, Hasbro were producing the toys of them, even though they'd never appeared on screen.
Yep.
Just for all of that to go away was a very poor decision. And again, the optimist in me said, well, they're doing this. They've not said it's gone. It's still available, but it's a separate continuity. Okay. They want to move things apart because they're going to do something else different going forwards. Okay. I know what sci-fi fans can be like. We can be quite pedantic in, well, this character during this time period was over here, so they can't possibly have been in your new film. So what's going on? I hate this. So I was still a bit optimistic. Then The Force Awakens came out. And that was, again, I still had optimism. I know a lot of people had a lot to say on the subject. I know a lot of people have said that Disney played it safe with what story-wise was a beat-for-beat remake of A New Hope.
Yep.
Oh, we've got to get the new gang together. Oh, there's a super weapon. It's a Death Star, only it's
bigger.
Bigger. It's bigger. Bigger is better. More. Line go up. This is better. And I think the rot had already set in. I think it was there very early because in pop culture circles, this is still quite the subject. I mean, it would be safer to talk about, who Jerusalem belongs to. Okay. That's an easier topic. Well, the Holy Roman Empire, but okay. Just throw that one out there. So the subject of Daisy Ridley's character Rey became very divisive because people were looking at character development and her apparent lack thereof. And this is no shade on Daisy Ridley and her acting. This is just the writing. But as soon as people started questioning it online, the backlash came heavily.
Yep.
It was, you weren't allowed to have an opinion. And I know this is I'll avoid the politics as much as I can. In current years, you have to have an opinion. It has to be the right one. And if you don't have the same opinion as one group of people, you are the enemy.
You're wrong.
And I looked at this and I thought, well, I see the point. I see the accusations of she's already perfect. Everyone loves her. Dare I say the Mary Sue? Oh dear. Oh dear. That's it. People are just tuning out now. But I still held hope because I still thought there's, I'm not too fussed really about dropping spoilers for Knights of the Old Republic because it's a particularly old game.
Yep.
But there is a storyline. Well, part of the main storyline is there is a character who was cut off forcibly from the Force and had their memories erased. This is the player character. This is the trope, very typical trope in computer RPGs where your character wakes up with amnesia. Oh, the blank slate. I can, this is me now, the blank slate, and I can start filling in the character sheet and picking the skills to suit how I want to play. And I thought, oh, well, maybe Rey is great with the Force because she's already been trained, but she's been cut off from it, and her memory's been taken away.
A perfectly reasonable and wonderful concept that would have made the most sense in the fucking universe. Look at that.
But instead, they put it in a game.
Well, no, you see, the game writers understood what Star Wars was.
Oh yeah.
The film writers, and to your J.J. Abrams point, I like every director that says, that came and said, oh, I love Star Wars, I love A New Hope. Am I going? That doesn't qualify you as a Star Wars fan. That just qualifies you as I like films. Like that's not an indication that you like the franchise. Like, now, if they hired a director and said, I love Star Wars, Attack of the Clones was underrated, I'd be like going, okay, this is a man who's got known as a bit more. Let's hear his opinions on this. But to come out and say I like A New Hope, it's like going, come on, that everyone does that. Shut up, like.
Congratulations, you also overate at Christmas dinner, sat in front of the TV,
correct,
and watched the Star Wars film that was on at Christmas.
Yes, it's like going, that's not a qualification to say I love Star Wars because I love A New Hope. It's like going, yes, well, every single film student likes A New Hope because it was the first special effects movie. It was the first that means absolutely nothing.
It fits the whenever I took media in college, and it fits the let's study the storytelling technique of the hero's journey. Star Wars.
All
the tropes are there. It's so easy to do. So yeah, everyone knows that one.
Now, get me a film director that goes, let's talk about the Battle of Mustafar, where you can clearly see the aggression of a Sith versus the practice mastery of Obi-Wan Kenobi's defensive, true Jedi style, but then how they're both technically both wrong in terms of their philosophy, and because both talking about absolute and both wrong, and talk about how that Obi-Wan, knowing his students so well, goaded him to doing something incredibly stupid, whereas just jumping up, running up would have been the more practical approach to attacking Obi-Wan on the high ground. Obi-Wan knew who his student was and knew if he baited him, he would do something incredibly stupid. That was a masterful battle that I've yet to see that the new trilogy just couldn't even attempt to even come close to.
I mean, they were setting that up even in the previous film in
Yes.
Attack of the Clones. At the very beginning, they got the speeder chase.
Yep.
And then
Arrogance.
he just gets up and jumps out and plummets. And goes, oh, I hate it when he does that.
It's almost like trilogies work better if you have like one group of people doing it.
Writing the entire thing. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, like yeah. It almost works better if you have a coherent. Look, you can not have a coherent story as well. Like because Lucas didn't have everything perfectly planned out when he started Star Wars, but it has to be the same person that has continues it along. But then you go into the whole Disney concept of like everything can be saved in editing, so just shoot a bazillion scenes and then just chop it together and be like, what can we cook and master? It's like, oh, how's that turned out for you, Disney, with this whole post editing? Like, we can save it in post. It's like,
how does that work? They filmed 6 full episodes of the upcoming Daredevil series and then threw it all in the bin because it was all unsalvageable.
In post, yes. So apparently the concept of saving it in post doesn't apply if the original concept was flawed.
Yeah.
Now I would, and let me before we go on to how we should what we think that's saving in the future. Let me talk about my greatest, the moment of absolute hate and the moment of dread.
Yes.
I saw Ryan L. Johnson. And yes, I know I am referring to him as Lionel Johnson, but because and look, I love the line, got the model, also separate. I bought the box set of the new Deathwing Knights, but anyway, I'm not going to go. Let's not go down the.
I have that under my desk waiting to be painted.
Yes. And am I painting my Lionel Johnson very Luke Skywalker-y in terms of having a black hood and then 10 natural lights? Yes, but I also have 3D. I also have like a 3D printer, so I've printed like a bazillion Luke Skywalkers already. So that's a whole separate other. I've actually at home in my cabinet, I've actually printed out in my mind Luke's true Jedi Academy. So I printed out Luke Skywalker, made 4 masters, and then those 4 masters trained 3 students, and then I've chronologically group them all as in like this is that's a whole separate thing. In terms of how but so I have like 48 Jedi just sitting in my like just printed out that I printed and painted. Anyway, it's a good thing. I had some hope with Ryan L. Johnson because he posted a picture of something that I have actually, which is the Jedi book, and he was like, I'm using this as a source material to learn, and I was going, Path of the Jedi, I have that. You press the button and the doors open and the book comes up and it lights up blue. It's fantastic. It talks about the forms. It talks about Jamie actually got that for me for Christmas one time, and it's still one of my prized possessions. I didn't even though.
Aww.
Ryan L. Johnson used it to destroy the franchise, I still kept it. And so I was like going, you know what, maybe this is going to be good because then I forgot who Ryan L. Johnson was. I forgot that he was all about subverting people's expectations. And I've said it 1,000 times, but I'll say it again. If I go to, let's call it, Neil's Steakhouse. And I sit down and say, Neil, I hear that you make the best steaks. And Neil says, I make the best porterhouses in the fucking country. I'm going, that is why I'm here, because I've had a hard day and I want to sit down and enjoy porterhouse. And he comes out and goes, what? Salad and vegan chips. I bet your expectations are subverted, huh? I'm going to punch that waiter so hard in the face that I'm probably going to get arrested. That is how I felt about The Last Jedi, because I was just it felt like they went, people said we followed New Hope. I know, let's follow Empire Strikes Back, but change every scene and make it worse. bad training, bad plot, bad structure. Hey, have they ever mentioned fuel before in Star Wars? No. Let's make it about fuel then. It's like, what? Let's, our awesome Supreme Leader General Hux, who destroyed an entire planet and rallied as like a semi-Nazi thing at the beginning. Let's make him an idiot. Yes! Let's take away the threat of the First Order and make them buffoons. Fantastic. I know. Let's kill Luke Skywalker because that's what people want to see. They love to see their childhoods die in a stupid manner. But hey, what do I know? That the movie that shattered the franchise. I'm sure Ryan L. Johnson. Okay, the reason why I know that they also know it was a bad movie because J.J. Abrams came back and said, none of that happened, none of that happened, none of that happened.
Well, they actually, it was the 9th film was not supposed to be J.J. Abrams.
It was meant to be Colin Trevorrow, and I've read what he was going to make, and it was spectacular.
It wouldn't have saved the trilogy, but good lord, I think I probably read the same treatment, and
you see the art as well.
It would have been good.
It would have been good. Jamie, it did the perfect thing where Rey disappeared for several years. And they're going like, oh, and they're struggling. And all of a sudden, this a staff wielding Jedi just appears, like dressed in the black costume, very akin to Luke Skywalker-y. And then they went, yes, during that 2-year period, Luke, as a Force Ghost, because you can, finish training Rey correctly. Because you know why? You're a Force Ghost, you can still train someone. That's not being a Force Ghost doesn't prevent you from training someone in the ways of the Force, because actually, that's even probably better because you're 24/7. You can just train it whenever you want. You could, and it was so much better because one of the things that I wanted to kill J.J. Abrams about was saying, Rey struggles with a connection with the Force, but she can meditate midair. The greatest thing that a Jedi can achieve, which is basically them in perfect harmony and unison with the Force. But let's just make her that she can do that, but she still can't connect to the Force. Like going, you are an idiot, J.J. Abrams, and I will look. Before I slandered that movie like badly because it was terrible, I will give it one kudos. Ben Solo and Kylo Ren had clear, distinct lightsaber fighting styles. When he was Kylo Ren, he was swinging wildly and all looked like an idiot. And when he was in that 5-10 minutes when he was Ben Solo, the man that's trained by Luke Skywalker, he actually looked like a Jedi fighting with a lightsaber. At least look competent. And I was going, you could. So, what? Anyway, that was my one. I'll give it one kudos, and that is it. Where they went, hey, because he's Ben Solo now, let's make him look awesome and like a Jedi. Then let's kill him. Like no. Anyway, they don't. Now, Neil, we all know that Disney is decided to piss off the richest man in the world, and also another billionaire, Nelson Peltz, and who they've decided to shake hands and decide let's destroy the let's burn it down and start again, because I don't remember them ever being seen with each other, and now they're calling each other friends and hanging out together. If you don't think they're not planning to again, if you have the money, you might as well use it, and also just don't piss off someone who probably is a little bit autistic, because they will hold grudges and they do go hard at people. So
a little. Do you follow Elon Musk on Twitter? Or X? Sorry.
Yes.
A little.
He's also got a buttload of
satellites.
Okay, look, I don't want to say it, but yes, look, is he as autistic as AF? Yes. But that's what brings his genius out. And then that's why he holds small things that people say to the point of I will now spend my entire efforts to destroy you. Again, that's not the person you piss off, because again, like I said, I've said this before, Elon Musk is one family tragedy away from supervillain. There's again, we could all see it happening. There's a massive car accident. All his family are in the hospital, like brain dead or something. And the doctor comes up to Elon and goes, "I'm sorry, sir. We just can't save them." And then Elon, like, with tears in his eyes, all of a sudden the tears stop and his eyes go a little bit like a little bit dark. He looks up and goes, "You can't save them. You can't." And he goes home, and then like Iron Man scenes up, like then builds the nanochips it up, and then like and unleashes the apocalypse upon the world to save his family, and then like we then forms the Musk Empire. But yeah, that's a whole separate. That's a whole episode point. There clearly is a need for change in the Star Wars. Now, Neil, I'm going to give you two scenarios. One very easy, and one that's going to be more difficult. So we'll start with the difficult one first. Let's say, for example, after the entire like explosion of the war with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk stands over Bob Iger's corpse with his blade held high, saying, "There can be only one," and then strikes him down Highlander style. For whatever reason, they've said, "You know what? Neil, yes, he will be my president of Lucasfilms." You get handed a title, but they say, "Neil, fix Star Wars for me, but you cannot erase 7, 8, 9. How do you fix it?
Cannot erase 7, 8, and 9. Very, very easily.
Go for it.
I will be pedantic and say, I won't erase them. I will do to them what Kathleen Kennedy and company did to the expanded universe. Oh, they're still there. They're just a separate canon now.
Oh.
They're in. They said that the expanded universe is now Star Wars Legends.
Mm.
Okay. 7, 8, and 9, and all of the slop that they've poured onto Disney Plus can be Star Wars shit. No subtlety. Just it's still there. We'll segregate it off on Disney Plus and its own little thumbnail, and you can go in there and you can do whatever. Meanwhile, I'll be contacting Timothy Zahn and saying, "Give me 3 script adaptations. I want Heir to the Empire.
Yes.
I want Dark Force Rising. I want The Last Command."
Yes.
And we'll keep you on retainer to do the 4th and the 5th ones that came 5 years later, chronologically.
Heir to the Empire was just outstanding.
That had a lot going. I mean, obviously, any time you try to adapt a book into a film or a short series, a lot is going to have to be cut by the wayside. My favorite example is Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. The movie is damn near perfect, and still is.
Mm.
But I just got done reading the book again recently, and wow, I used to say I would love to see that adapted into like a 6-part HBO series. But nowadays, whenever I hear, some company is making an adaptation of a thing you like, I don't have any excitement.
Of course.
No.
I just have a sense of disappointment. And how are you going to let me down?
Yes. Yeah.
At this point, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Yes.
But I would just say, okay. To be fair, as you said, you can find something good in any of these films, and I know there are people out there who, for whatever reason, fetal alcohol syndrome or whatever, enjoy the Last Jedi. If you enjoy it, that's great. No art should be erased. But from a storytelling perspective, from a fan perspective, from a business perspective, they just can't be left intact. You would have to go back, and I will say I did enjoy Rogue One, despite it damaging part of the canon with the aforementioned Kyle Katarn. And the first couple of seasons of The Mandalorian, they weren't stellar, but they were definitely, in my opinion, a step in the right direction. Just a small story, and that's what I think they needed to really focus on. And instead, now everything is tying into everything. It's just like one of the reasons why The Marvels failed as hard as it did was the list came out of, if you want to appreciate this film, how much homework do you have to do? Well, you need to watch the first Captain Marvel film. Okay. And then you need to watch WandaVision. And to get one of the characters. Then you need to watch Ms. Marvel.
Ugh.
And then you need to watch the one with Samuel L. Jackson that they completely undid how cool this character was. Yeah. And it's like, so to go to the cinema to watch a movie, with my wife or go out with friends, I've got 14 hours of viewing to catch up on.
That's not good
fun.
Viewing either.
I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but they had the idea that Ms. Marvel, for example, they made that for tween girls. It's the old, it wasn't made for you.
Yes.
That's great. But in order to understand your latest movie, I've got to watch it. And I think the biggest mistake, and it's not just Lucasfilm with Star Wars, it's also the MCU, the Disney Plus shows, is it's all basically required watching.
Yeah.
Whereas The Mandalorian, as long as you have a working knowledge of core Star Wars, you could watch The Mandalorian. It's a bounty hunter. He's hunting bounties. They could have. You've got 2 seasons with the toy, which, let's be honest, Disney were looking for their Ewoks.
Yes.
They wanted the cute little thing that they could have on the suction cups, stuck to the car windows.
Yeah.
They tried it in The Last Jedi with the porgs, the little bird things, but that didn't stick. But then everybody loved Baby Yoda. But they sent him off to go off and train with Luke. They could have just said, right, season 3, he's going to be onto a different bounty.
Yep.
Yeah.
As they should have.
And it just keep everything separate, because they're turning franchises where you can you look at what's available and you think, it's a buffet. I can take it, I can leave it. Do I fancy this series? Do I want to watch Andor? Yes. Do I want to watch Ahsoka? Oh, I didn't like that character, so no, I'm going to leave that. Well, you can't do that now because everything is crossing over and tying into each other. And I think I don't know if anyone's familiar with a series of Star Wars books. It's Tales of the something. There was Tales from the Empire, Tales of the New Republic, Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, and it was just short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all themed towards, Tales from Jabba's Palace is all those crazy guys you saw in Return of the Jedi in Jabba's Palace. It's just little stories of all of those characters. And that could have something like that, where as long as you've seen that film, it's just little spin-offs. You don't need to watch them to get anything else. They're just little side stories. And I think that's partly where they're going wrong. I mean, there's also the fact that the writing is terrible, and because they are fixing the entire production in post, the visual effects tend to suffer. I feel for the visual effects people that felt they had to unionize, because they were getting a lot of flack online for this latest project. The visual effects are terrible, and then the VFX artists are coming out and saying, "We had 3 weeks to do that.
Yep.
We needed 3 months, but they kept chopping and changing everything, and then they threw us everything and said, fix it.
And when you're doing visual effects shots, it generally means that you get told ahead of time what the shot is and you can plan for it. But then if the director is, I don't know, Taika Waititi keeps changing his goddamn mind, it's very hard to then run a visual specs behind a man that's a loose cannon.
That's it. It seems like their entire corporate culture is just wrong. The idea that they approached Star Wars 7, 8, and 9 without, I mean, have different writers, have different directors, by all means. I mean, Empire Strikes Back had different writers working on the script and the story. They had a different director. But you need to have, in 7, this is going to happen, which leads on to this in 8, where we set up this for 9.
Yes.
They didn't even do that. Imagine starting to write a series where you don't know where it's going. You don't know where it's going to end up. You're just going blind, and then halfway through, you just give it to someone else, and which is what they did with Ryan Johnson.
Hey, you do it.
And then they brought, after Colin Trevorrow said, I think rumor was this was to do with the fact that not long towards the release of The Last Jedi, this is when Carrie Fisher sadly passed away.
Yeah.
And Colin Trevorrow said, "Oh, well, you know, you had Han Solo in 7, Luke in 8, Leia was supposed to be in 9. Can we make some just a few alterations so I can fit this into not having her for my 9?" No, you can't. And he left the project, one of many directors and writers to find such difficulties working for modern Lucasfilm that they just left. And then they brought JJ in to try and fix it, as you said before. You know, none of that counts. And they tried to explain away all of the things that Last Jedi broke in the continuity. But you shouldn't spend half of the last film of a 9-film series that has been spanning decades desperately trying to claw back the continuity. This should be, you've already built your climax. This is, I mean, this is your Infinity War endgame. This is where everything pays off.
Yes.
Not, we're frantically trying to say, no, the light speed breaking the ship thing. No. Killing off the villain that we've already established. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Oh, that's the worst.
Those are words that have happened.
Those are words that exist. Somehow Palpatine returns. Through. It's like, oh my god.
Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Is a very good technique in filmmaking.
Yes.
But good filmmaking is not what they're doing these days.
That seems to be a lost art about you don't do that. You tell, don't show.
So, where they're going now, I mean, they had Ahsoka, and sadly they had their villain, the actor, Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson passed, yep.
Passed away. So now they're going to have to, unless they've got enough footage to finish whatever he was doing at the end of that series. Somehow he died, I guess, is what they're going to have to come up with with their quality of writing.
Yeah. Yes, they're excellent writing. Somehow he died.
But then, who knows, because there's so many projects that have been, they tend to announce all of these projects when the earnings calls are happening, which we have just, or they've just had. And so they've made all these announcements. So they're doing a Mandalorian and Grogu film that's going to be done by Jon Favreau, supposedly. But again, how many projects are just existing in limbo? How many have been outright cancelled? The one I was looking forward to was Rogue Squadron.
Mm.
That had potential, and it was Patty Jenkins, who at the time had done Wonder Woman, which I quite enjoyed Wonder Woman, and everyone went, "Oh, she's quite good. Let's give her a Star Wars film, Rogue Squadron. Oh, that'd be good." Then Wonder Woman 1984 came out, and I said, maybe we won't do that. No, perhaps not.
Maybe that was a fluke rather than the norm.
But again, Rogue Squadron, there was a Star Wars book series of Rogue Squadron, and that series covers the rebellion capturing the capital city, Coruscant, from the Empire. The first few books in that series alone could have made a very good season 1, season 2, season 3 show or a series of films. You had space battles, plenty of interesting characters with dynamics going between them. You had them capturing helping or being instrumental in capturing the capital city, and it being a rather, spoiler alert, for a series that's actually several decades old now. It's a rather Pyrrhic victory. That would have, if I was in charge, other than it's the Empire trilogy being 7, 8, and 9.
That's the stand. I think most people now have that just concept of going, that just do that. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would say Rogue Squadron as a separate series, again, just doesn't need to be you've seen one to watch the other. I remember reading the Heir to the Empire, we met many years ago, and Luke is there in the Imperial Palace on Coruscant talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi's Force Ghost. And I remember thinking, oh, okay. I guess at some point the rebellion captured Coruscant and formed the New Republic.
Yep.
There's that word again, somehow.
But then, that was covered. I don't know which series came out first, but that whole thing happened in a separate series. And it's just, you take it as given, it's there, which is not what they did for Force Awakens, where this is a bit of a story writing bugbear of mine, but you finish Return of the Jedi. The rebellion has scored a major victory. They've killed the Emperor and his right-hand man. They've stopped the Death Star. And then we go to 30 years later, and the Republic is off screen, but it doesn't matter because they're going to be super weaponed away
that was
without
so
really seeing it.
dumb.
But there's also a resistance movement, and the Empire is gone, only to be replaced with the facelifted and 25% legally distinct First Order. And they're now they're now quite powerful and have the resources to build a super weapon out of a planet. We got nothing. And defenders of that will turn around and say, well, there was a book that tells you all of this. Oh, goody, more homework. The books and the side series should be something you have an option to watch that spins off from the main films. It should not be, well, if you want to understand the main film properly, here's your homework.
You need this book. Yeah, that's it's just...
it strikes me as just they're writing it backwards.
Yeah.
Well, also they're writing a dumb idea, and then they're using books to fix their dumb idea, and then going, "Look, this book fixes the dumb idea." It's like, or you just don't have a dumb idea to start with, and then we're fine. Like it's that is.
How's about we don't treat our films like modern computer games where we're going to release something in a broken and unfinished state and then we'll
And patch it
later.
Yeah.
The books, the novelization of the film is the patch where, we're going to explain this thing that we kind of completely forgot to cover in the film.
We glossed over this particular element. Whoops. Here's the repair. And I hope that now please give us some more money. And it's that's the concept that they're working towards.
But they don't want money because every part of the franchise is dying off. This is something else I wanted to mention. It's less to do with the story and the writing side of things, and more the business side is. When your fans aren't keen on something, do not come out and start calling them every name under the sun. Don't start gaslighting everyone into saying they're a bunch of bigoted istophobes. They have criticisms. They weren't a fan of something. Maybe we take this under advisement and we try and fix it in the next thing. Or we say, okay, we can steer the franchise in a different direction, especially since we're not actually having a through storyline and we can just change it in the next thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they decided no, all the fans who have been following the franchise for 10, 20, 30 years, no, we don't want them anymore. We want the wider audience. And here's the problem. The wider audience only find these franchises by the fans. My parents sat me down when I was 3 or 4 and said, here, watch this film. It's got spaceships in it. My daughter is 9 now, and a number of years ago, we sat down and I said, we're going to watch Star Wars now, sweetheart. And every night, I think it was during school holidays, so she could stay up a little bit later after I got home from work. We would sit down and we watched 4, then 5, then 6. Night after night, we watched the Star Wars film. Then we did 1, 2, 3. Or rather, she watched them at my behest, and I watched her watching them. I watched her enjoying them. I got to watch her face when Darth Vader said, no, I am your father. And I saw her eyes go wide. She had no idea because she's young enough to not even have experienced that.
The memes.
The memes. It's part of the, I'll sound snobby now, the cultural zeitgeist.
Oh, yeah.
She's not experienced that. So I got to watch her experience it. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed introducing my firstborn to a franchise that I loved. And we did those. Then we did 1, 2, and 3, or rather, we did 1 in 2 separate sittings. This is I've not watched Phantom Menace in a good number of years. I appreciate it more now, more as an adult, especially the political side of things. Now I understand the taxes, the Trade Federation, the Senate. I understand that a bit more. It's not paced very well.
No.
It slows down so much in the middle that I turned around and she was asleep against my shoulder. And I thought, okay, we'll pause it for now. We'll come back to this tomorrow night. I'll carry her up to bed now. And then, so we did that. We watched Rogue One, and we did the Mandalorian, the first 2 seasons of that. And then directly after season 2 of The Mandalorian came out, the Gina Carano controversy reared its head.
Yep.
And that was about the point where I said, F this, I'm out. No, this is not right. And luckily I seem to have checked out at about the right point, because even though I haven't stuck with it and watched everything religiously.
You left at the height.
There's a number of YouTubers who commentate on these things, and I'm kind of looking at it going, it's almost like looking at an ex up on social media and seeing how bad her life has gone and getting some kind of schadenfreude from it.
Yeah.
But this is it. I stopped pushing Star Wars in my household because obviously I've got 2 sons as well now, and they're about at the age where they could start enjoying it. My little girl, she went on to enjoy Harry Potter instead. So that's a child who is not going to be asking for the merchandise for birthdays and Christmas, same as my 2 of my boys. And so where's this wider audience? Well, Hasbro just did massive layoffs because they produce a lot of the toys, the action figures and whatnot. They're not selling. Why aren't they selling?
Yeah.
Well, because the parents aren't pushing the kids to enjoy. It's not that they need to be pushed, but they're not saying, hey, let's watch this. They're saying, let's watch Harry Potter instead. Yep. Or, another franchise. It's the parents are the ones that buy the things. It's the parents that take them to the cinema. And if the parents are told, oh, if you didn't like the way we did this, then you clearly hate whatever group of people is on the agenda that day, well, they're going to say, well, fine, then you don't get my money, and I'm just going to check out now. That's the biggest, bad writing, bad films, bad shows, none of that's good. But it's the way that Disney has treated the fan base, almost as if, well, you're disposable. We don't need you. Without realizing that if you have a group of friends and one of them's a big Star Wars fan, they're the one that's going to say to their friends, hey, when we go to watch a movie on Friday night, let's go see this.
Yes.
They'll go and see something else instead. And that would honestly... If your situation where Spaceship Man takes over and says, Neil, you take over, I think I would have to say, on top of shuffling everything that's there off into its separate little canon and picking my stories to get made, I would have to do the rounds on a lot of podcasts and
apology tour
shows. Kind of an apology. I would have nothing to apologize for. If you've done nothing wrong, never apologize. But I would have to stake my flag on a hill and say, guys, I'm with you. I'm going to appear on a bunch of panel shows, and you can quiz me on my Star Wars knowledge. I know stuff.
Yep.
And there are people who've been burned so hard they'll never come back, and that's their choice, and it's a shame. But I would like to think that I would be able to at least say, guys, I'm with you here, give me a chance. And that would upset the Twitterati, because I would be appearing on shows where they've already decided they are no better than certain 1930s German political groups, shall we say. But you know what? Those people, they're loud on Twitter. I keep saying Twitter, not X. That's the habit. They're very loud on there, but they're clearly not buying the merchandise. They're not buying into they're not putting anything back into it.
And that's a key element, because Star Wars is its merchandise. The reason why Disney bought it was not because they wanted to make new films, because they wanted that gigantic merchandise sales that comes with that property, because that is where the money is in, because you can make one film every couple of years. And in the years you're not making films, you're selling toys. You're selling thousands upon thousands of items to people who then enjoy the franchise. And that's why prior to those films, Star Wars was still successful, because people were still buying Star Wars merchandise, both, canon, both, newer, EU stuff. Those like the Black Series was still at the time, a very collectible series from Hasbro where they would release, good characters that, having hands that Hasbro's toy manufacturing is still that shit. So they're always looked a bit weird, but they were still decent enough. But yeah, and all those people that like The Last Jedi, you didn't go and buy Rose Tico toys, did you? You didn't go and buy her action figures. You didn't buy Rey shit, did you? So what, so the value you brought to Star Wars was what, a $17 ticket? Congratulations. What's the net? What's the, wow, $17. Look, and I'm actually somewhat mad at The Mandalorian though, because it gave us false hope. Particularly season 2 ending gave us false hope that doesn't exist. It gave us a magical moment that reinvigorated it. Star Wars was dead. No, it got returned to Disney Plus because it was dying. Jon Favreau got to do whatever he wanted because no one cared. Then made the greatest season ending, and then Disney once again said, "Oh, this is successful now. Now let me pick up on. Oh, I dropped it. Oh no!" So
yeah.
They came back because it was once again in the conversation. It was successful, and then they went, "Now, how can we destroy it? Oh shit! Well, how can we turn this thing that people like now back into what we want? Oh no, what happened? Why? Where are the people going? It's like going.
Well, there's a lot of that happening, and I believe there was one of the just to go back to banging on that the Marvels. As it is, one of the Disney executives after a pre-screening of the film is supposedly quoted as saying something along the lines of, "This is the kind of shit we put on Disney Plus." Okay, this is the problem, is they're acknowledging that content. They need content. They need X number of shows, X number of minutes of hours per month, per year. And now it's just, we don't really care if it's good or bad, just that we can say we've put content on there, because if we don't, our shareholders are going to say, "Hey, why aren't you doing anything with it?"
Yeah.
Instead of, we're going to hang on and say, let's wait until someone comes up with a story that really says something, that really grabs us. Then we can make it. And it's just, no, we're going to do whatever. That's the problem, is they're treating it like an assembly line, a machine. It's just produce content. With Lucasfilm, as it was under George Lucas, they finished the prequel trilogy in 2005. And then there was nothing. George Lucas was he was writing scripts for I believe it was 2 TV shows. There was going to be a Jedi TV show and a Star Wars Underworld TV show. And apparently for the Underworld thing, he had about 50 scripts preliminarily done. But I don't remember where I saw this. I tried to find the quote just to confirm I'm not remembering wrong, but I believe George Lucas said that they had to wait until the technology to produce it was cheap enough to be able to do, which it now apparently is.
It would be now.
Although how you can spend, was it $25 million an episode on She-Hulk? Maybe it's not. Or maybe it's a massive grift and they're laundering money somewhere, but that's probably another
separate
discussion.
Problem. Yeah.
So the technology's there now, but he said, let's hang on until we can do it right.
Yeah.
And Disney just seemed to be treating it like, and I don't know how much of this is Kathleen Kennedy being told you have to have X amount of content this year, or if it's Disney saying do what you want and Kathleen Kennedy is doing this. There's some very obvious choices as to who she's hiring, and that's especially at a time when during that thing that happened in 2020 that we shall rename nameless, where Disney said, we're not going to be able to produce anything, so we're going to stop hiring people. And then someone was still hired during that time. And that person, who happened to have been the personal assistant for a particular Weinstein brother, who in the last, I think, 24 hours, it's come out, may very well have been financing the campaign to oust Gina Carano, but allegedly.
That's a good look. That's a good look. That was always a good look for them.
So there's some very dubious hiring going on. And I think it's only going to be many years from now, when everyone that's currently involved is out, has moved on, has retired, someone's going to write a book where all of the dirty secrets are going to come out after it doesn't matter anymore. Then we may find out. But for now, I think myself, a lot of other people, yourselves probably, are just looking at their decisions and going, why? What? In what way is this ever going to work? And it's not. And yet, Bob Iger keeps doubling down.
He doubles down. I mean, it's the definition of, like, no one likes to see. It's watching. It's watching. I guess it's like watching a live train crash. It's like going, well, you shouldn't watch a live train crash. It's terrible, but I can't look away because I can see that, like, I can see their mistakes live and watch it unfold, watch their disasters unfold when they announce things, and you go like, that's not going to work. Now let's see what happens when it doesn't.
Well, let me pose you both, because you're both the uber Star Wars nerds. Let me pose you with this question, okay? So clearly, Disney's crashing. But let's say they get to a point where they decide to sell Star Wars, or are forced to. Who would you want to take over it?
Ideally,
Elon Musk. No.
No, but ideally, Lucas will buy it back, and then and then bury it for a long period of time, and then say no one can touch.
Like the Batman treatment, like how that when Batman and Robin came out, there was no Batman movie for a long time, and then they came back with Nolan's trilogy, that sort of thing, or?
Well, actually, no. I'd actually want him to take it and then immediately just go, because I now own it. Those are Disney's 789. Here is my 789. I would love that. I would, because he had, again, his idea was a good one. Like when you read, like, that dumbass Pablo Hidalgo did a book on saying what the trilogy from George Lucas was, which then contradicted George Lucas's own book of what his trilogy was. So which one do I believe what the trilogy was going to be? Some random stupid Disney employee, or the man himself who had a very clear, interesting. And so, Lucas's story would have been a lot more interesting in terms of, an idea of, when the Empire is gone, the New Republic isn't necessary of the size, and so there's a giant power vacuum where every known criminal under the fucking sun is stepping out into the universe. Luke's spending years trying to basically find all the Jedi in hiding and, like, struggling, I'm building, fledgling order again. And then, then it's Darth Maul and Darth Talon sort of rising from the ruins and to assume power of the galaxy. It's like, it's a much more, I think, it would have been a more interesting story than whatever the stupid nonsense they made. So, look, the best people that could buy it would be them, or a company that needs to make money and, like, can't afford things to fail. Like, that would be the next best logical conclusion, where a company that buys it and goes, okay, we can't afford stupid movies. We must have every movie become successful, or else we're going to go out of business. That would be a great company to own Star Wars, because then they have no choice but to make it good. Disney, even Netflix, Amazon, they can afford failure because they've got enough monetary backing behind them not to care.
Yeah.
You kind of need a smaller company to buy it or get control of it so they can realize like, hey, if we don't succeed, it's not gonna like our company goes under. Thoughts, Neil?
I'm with you on I would love to see the property return to George Lucas. At this point, I don't even know if he would touch it.
I don't think he would.
I remember reading recently that the value of Lucasfilm, because when they were purchased by Disney, I think they got the same deal. They got the Marvel deal, and Marvel Studios, I think, was $4.03 billion.
Yeah.
And I think it was Bob Iger that fought to get George Lucas the same deal.
Yeah.
And even though Lucasfilm was valued a lot less than that, Bob Iger said to the bean counters, the shareholders, the board, look, it's Star Wars. It's money printer go brr. We produce Luke action figures and lightsaber toys, and people buy them. Money. Well, that didn't work.
It didn't work.
But I believe that they've because the three IPs that Lucasfilm held, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and to a lesser extent, although it is still beloved by many, Willow. And that spin-off series that was so good that they removed it as a tax write-off, and now the only way you can even view it is to pirate it.
That shows a successful series, don't you know? That shows success.
It's the limited edition, very, very, very limited.
Don't let them tell you that it's not successful.
I'm sure that the company is now valued a lot less than that, and because of that, I think there's some financial legal thing where they can't actually sell it because it's an asset that's devalued so heavily. I'm not sure on that front, but ignoring all of that, George Lucas getting the chance to reclaim what was his, the franchise he created, and giving him a do-over, if he would be willing to come back to it, would be good. I hadn't thought about the idea of a smaller company that can't afford failure taking it on. That's interesting, because, as you say, you look at the likes of Amazon, and Amazon Studios is an afterthought. If they lose money,
they don't care.
Bezos doesn't care.
No,
it's an embarrassment when they spent $1 billion on Rings of Power, and
what a bang up job they did on that one.
that went that way. But although it was an embarrassment, it was a bloody nose. Jeff Bezos isn't having to start liquidating assets in order to cover the bills.
Having said that, he's no longer the richest man in the world, so maybe his ego is probably a little hurt.
Yeah.
Wasn't that because he got divorced and his wife literally took half of his fortune, and
that did hurt him. Yeah. But he's no longer in the super there's an elite billionaires club, and then there's obviously the super duper billionaires club. He's lost his super duper billionaires club membership now.
I think it would be interesting to see what another party would do with it, especially if it was an effort headed up by someone with maybe similar attitudes to what we've been discussing already, where there's some beloved books there. Fans say make book into film. Money printer continues to go brr. We will buy the action figures of Talon Card and Mara Jade, all these characters from. We'll buy proper Grand Admiral Thrawn and Admiral Pelion.
Pelion.
This this would have for whatever fans there are that would be willing to give someone else a second chance, I would watch that, and were the film good, I would quite happily buy merchandise for my kids, for me as well.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm not saying I've got a collection of lightsabers on the back wall or anything, but
No, not at all.
you know, I think it would be interesting to see a company that could not afford to take the hit of a flop. It would really depend on the attitude of who it was.
That's the kind of the key, because you'd almost say maybe Warner Brothers, possibly.
There'd be a risk.
Because I don't think they can afford too many more hits on the failure slate. So I think they might actually you might get something decent out of them.
How many times has Warner been sold or merged in the last few years? Because
that's the problem.
Someone is always willing to buy them, and although they've again talk about trying to correct the direction of a franchise, they've got. I can't remember who it is they brought in to do the business and money side, but the creative side, they got James Gunn, who probably at this point I would say is written or co-written some of the better Marvel films, the Guardians of the Galaxy films.
Yep.
Or he wrote the third one in its entirety. He co-wrote, I believe, the first two. He's made some interesting calls with regards to trying to reboot DC. On film, telling Henry Cavill to jog on does not endear you to me whatsoever, Mr. Gunn.
Yes.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Having said that, when you look at his casting of Superman, maybe I know you've been upset about the Superman casting. If you look at, but I don't think he's wanted to deal with Henry Cavill's agent and then have to deal with The Rock. So I think that's probably why he probably wanted just a full separation from the Rock family. It went like, you're too much Rock.
Yeah.
Bye, go away.
Yeah.
But he's casting for
Supergirl. It's The Rock's ex-wife, isn't it?
Yeah, Danny Garcia. He needs a new agent. Get rid of that's a whole separate other thing. But Millie Alcock, I think his name is, the Australian actress playing Supergirl. You look at her and go like, wow, you hired an actress that looks like Supergirl. Like, you actually, like, physically, like, you look at her and go like, yeah, that's probably what interest. You hired a redheaded Jimmy Olsen. I'm like, okay. You hired a snippy comedian to play Lois Lane. I'm like, all right, I hear you. Okay. And I'm going, who knows what the script's going to be, but at least the casting is like,
He's always had a knack for perfect casting.
So I'm like going, hey, look, will it be good? Still to be determined. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that's the one.
Watch this space.
What's this space?
We could probably come back in a few years once he's got the first few major films out of, and then we can say, well, we were, really, really right on that one, or really wrong.
Wow, that was terrible.
Yeah. We'll have to get you back on for the DC talk, or whatever you want to call it. But I had to say, we probably should wrap it up now, boys. We've been going quite a while. Any final thoughts on Star Wars and Disney?
Yes, it's a simple one, and I don't understand why they don't understand this just yet. Star Wars itself is a family story. It is a story about space wizards. It's a fantasy. Yes, I know it's set in space, but it's a fantasy because you don't explain how the micromolecular field works on their jump drives or how. Don't care. Magic. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's a fantasy. Yes, it's space, but it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy setting. It's space wizards, but it's also a family story about the Skywalker lineage, about the family. And I know people say, "Hey, I like to hear stories about like, non-Jedi stories." Like, yes, as a side-off, one-off things. But if you don't have Jedi, you don't have Star Wars, which means you're dumb. I mean, and if you don't have a Skywalker, you don't have a Star Wars. Also, pointedly, if you don't have a Skywalker, I don't think you have a Star Wars. Like, I know that worked with Old Republic because they were saying, "Hey, this is pre-Skywalker." That kind of works. I'm okay with that. But they need to fix that somehow, and I don't know they can fix it. I've thought about long and hard about how you would fix it, and then essentially the only way you'd fix it if you wanted to keep your current stupid films, which they probably do, is you bring Mara Jade in a Mandalorian, say, season 4 episode. You have her meet Luke, have her train with Luke, have them have some sort of relationship, have them realize that they can't, have her sort of bow out saying, like, because you're important to the Jedi, you can't, blah, blah, blah. Have her realize she's pregnant much later on, and then you could then have a true Skywalker out in the universe, and then when they make the Rey movie, you make her evil. You make her truly the Palpatine that she is. She creates a Jedi Order within the heart of the Republic, but they're secretly Siths. They take over the universe. Then it's up to the Skywalker true bloodline lineage to once again save the galaxy. That is how you do it. That is how you keep the storyline. I might have to recast Daisy Ridley because I don't think she'd come back for that role. I don't think she'd want to come back as evil. I don't think she would. But you could do this amazing scene where they gather all the Jedi around, like her new Jedi Order, and she goes, "It's time for us to finally truly believe the potential that we have." And then they all activate their sabers. They all and then they're all red. And then all of a sudden, all around the galaxy, like planted Sith assassinate key government leaders, and they march under the Sith Empire, and it's going it'd be awesome. And then all of a sudden, it's up to this two twins born from Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker to once again return to the galaxy to save it. But again, it would be easy to wipe that all out, but that would be what you do if you wanted to keep it.
Well, if Daddy Elon buys it and gives it to me, if you're looking for a job,
Hey,
that would be good.
Save Star Wars.
Cool. Any final thoughts, Neil?
Yes. The people who are fans of Star Wars, the fandom, it crosses every line. It's boys and girls, men and women. It doesn't matter what faith you have. It doesn't matter where in the world you're from, what's in your blood, what's between your legs, what you like to do with what's between your legs. It doesn't matter politically whether you lean left, right, up, down, inside out. Star Wars fans are Star Wars fans. And it always had a very, I don't want to say simple, but a very basic charm of good, bad, light, dark.
Good
and it was
evil.
they never picked a particular issue and said, well, we're deciding that this issue is good and the other side is bad. I've had a lot of my friends through school and through other parts of my life where Star Wars fans, we find each other. It'll be a little quote or a little reference. All it takes is someone to say, "Hello there."
Hello.
And someone else will go, General Kenobi. And you go, I found you. You're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. A lot of my friends who are just as horrendously nerdy or geeky as me, more or less, we have ideologically, we could be very different. We could have different, vote different ways. We could like completely different types of music. We could like different films that weren't Star Wars. Anything. But the fandom crosses all lines. Disney has either lost sight of that or never had sight of it in the first place. They started chasing the audience rather than just saying, here are the fans. The fans are already here. The audience is here. We need to appeal to a different group of people. No, those different groups of people that like Star Wars are already fans. And if they're not already fans, life will have them gravitate towards it, whether it's a friend that puts the movie on when they're hanging out one night, or a game comes out that they play. People find their fandoms. They don't need someone to go out chasing them. And going forward, if Disney ever want to try and fix things, they need to drop. I'm not saying that people can't be political. I'm not saying that people can't champion a cause. That's fine. But as a business trying to produce a property that already has a fandom, you don't need to chase them and start beating them over the head with what you particularly believe. And if they just accept that we all have we're all different. We all have different beliefs, but we all like lightsaber fights and starfighter battles, and the battle between good and evil, where evil is just, these are the guys wearing black, it's dark, they shoot lightning and have evil laughs. It doesn't need to be any more complex than that, as long as the story is good.
And they say good. Good.
So that would be my final thoughts on it. Is there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening to this very awesome episode. Thank you, Neil, for joining us. We'll be sure to get you on again. And guys, if you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. Look us up on Instagram, stories_podcast, and please buy Neil's wife's books.
Oh yes, please do. I am the technical support and moral support and advisor on the Rising Dawn trilogy and the spin-offs, which are still coming. So
very good.
Please do check those out on Amazon, on Kindle.
Yeah, all the links are in the show notes. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Farewell.